Hi, we are discussing the strategy for the chapter National Income. In this chapter, you will be doing concepts like GDP, GNP, NDP, GDP and market price, what is real GDP, nominal GDP, what are multiple methods of computing GDP, old methods, new methods. We will be discussing the topics like what's a business cycle, terms like growth, recession, depression, business cycle. So these type of concepts are there in this chapter. Some other topics, some other concepts like what is GDP at purchasing power parity, what is green GDP. So these concepts should be done for the prelims as well as the mains part. If I talk about the last 12 years, in the prelims part, 7 questions have come in the last 12 years. But in the last 4 years, not a single question has come up. So that doesn't mean the questions won't come. You shouldn't be seeing the importance of this chapter in terms of the number of questions asked. This chapter is the backbone of Indian economy. Later on, you will be reading the chapters like fiscal policy, monetary policy, agriculture, industries, infrastructure. All these chapters they consist of discussions of the topics given in this chapter. So agriculture will say agriculture GDP, industry will say industrial GDP. We talk about fiscal stimulus package and fiscal policy, that's to revive GDP. So this is the backbone of the complete economy, and its importance should not be gauged just with the number of questions, right? If we talk about prelims, the questions have come in the following way. The questions have come 2019, the question was on purchasing power parity, a pretty straightforward question, simple question. In 2018, the question was on what is economic development, and other question was what is capital output ratio. Both these questions were like straightforward questions, simple questions. If you will be reading the study materials or reference books, you will be able to solve these questions. Before that, in 2015, a question had come, a trend-based question had come, where the question asked was, what was the growth of GDP in the last 10 years, or what's the rate of growth of GDP in the last 12 years? Again, a pretty straightforward question. Before that, in 2013, the question was on what's the definition of economic growth or how economic growth would happen, and a question was also there on what is GDP, right? All these questions, they were very, very simple questions, all right? And just by reading reference books, study materials, you will be able to solve these questions. Now, how to handle the questions, if I talk about approach, how to handle these questions, read NCRTs, read reference books, read study materials. At the same time, you should be reading newspaper properly. Because multiple times, the terms which are asked in the news, which are given in the newspaper, are asked directly in the examination hall. So whenever you will be reading any article about GDP or national income, make sure that you understand each and every word of that chapter, each and every word of that article, right? If I talk about mains part, this chapter is also important for the mains part. In the last 12 years, 4 questions have come up. In the year 2021, a question asked was, what's the difference between the computing methodology of the new method of GDP calculation and the old method of GDP calculation? We got the new method of GDP calculation in 2015. So when the question is being asked in 2021, students, they need to get surprised how this question is coming up. So as such, and before that, these type of questions hadn't come up, right? The difference between methodology, these technical questions had not come up. So this question was a little bit of surprise for the aspirants. It was a random question and it was a difficult question. Before that, and in the same year, not before that, in the same year in 2021, another question had come up which was about V-shaped recovery. The question computing methodology was a static question. The question on V-shaped recovery was a current-oriented question because in 2021, India was witnessing a recovery after the recession of 2020. The question was difficult because in this question we had to substantiate with data, with facts, whether India was going through V-shaped recovery or not. It was a difficult question. And in examination hall, whether to get those relevant data, it's very, very difficult. In 2020, the question had come on what is a potential GDP. It's a static question, a conceptual question. If a student had a basic understanding of economy, he would be able to handle that question of potential GDP. It was an unexpected question, but still relatively easy. 2017, the question was, how is economic growth dependent on savings rate? This was a current-oriented topic. Reason, the economic survey of that year had focused on how savings and investments are important for the GDP growth rate. At the same time, in the year 2016-17, the savings rate of India had dropped. There were a lot of articles in the newspaper regarding the savings rate going down. Hence, it was a contemporary question. I would say a medium level difficulty question, not that easy, not that difficult. Students can handle, right? Now, these questions have come up. These 4 questions have come up. If I talk about the approach to solve these questions, look, you cannot prepare for these type of questions. Most of the time, it is on the spot answer writing for these questions. If you are conceptually strong, if you are reading the newspaper, then you can get the answers. So, approach is that it's on the spot answer writing, and it requires the application of concepts to the question being asked. All right. And if you really want to know for all these questions, prelims and mains, if you want to know the question specific approach, I am telling you the strategy of the national income chapter. If you want to know how to handle each of these questions, what's the exam approach for the prelims question, in detailed analysis of the prelims questions, handwritten answer for all these mains answer, in the word limit answers, you should be getting that book, Indian Economy PYQ Analysis. It's an amazing book. It has got amazing reviews. All right. Yeah. Thank you.